Hello everyone, happy Christmas. My name is John and I'm going to show you how to roast chestnuts over an open fire. So you might remember, that line, chestnuts roasting over an open fire. You might remember it best from the Nat King Cole song from the 1940s. But roasting chestnuts on an open fire is actually a tradition that dates back to Victorian times and beyond. And so what would happen is that, chestnuts, they're ready to be harvested around this time every year, late fall, November and December. And by Victorian times, there was a whole industry built around harvesting and roasting and selling chestnuts on street corners. So around this time every year, when people are getting ready, starting to decorate the house, making plans for Christmas, getting presents, organized, shopping, bustling around on the streets of the big cities. That would be the time that whole trainloads of chestnuts would be pouring into cities, and they would be bought and cooked up and sold by street vendors on practically every corner, selling these roasted chestnuts. So I'm going to show you how to do these yourself if you're interested at home. So I bought a pound of chestnuts. You can buy them at the grocery store or at farmer's market. They're usually in the produce section. You can buy them in bulk, which is best because if they're in a plastic bag, it actually it can make them go moldy if they can't breathe. So to prepare the chestnuts, you want to score the shell of the chestnut. I made cut an X just through the shell, because what happens is that the soft inside part of the chestnut, the part that we're going to be eating, is actually pretty moist. There's a lot of moisture in there. So as you're cooking them, it's going to build up some steam, and if you don't cut a vent in the shell of the chestnut, it's going to explode. Okay? And they might explode a little bit anyways, but we want to keep as many of them from blowing up as we can. So chestnuts usually have a round side and a flat side. So you want to score the flat side of the chestnut, and just enough just to break through that shell, which is actually pretty thin, but a little bit hard. So you just want to use a nice sharp paring knife. So I've scored all my chestnuts, they're ready to roast. I put them on the bottom of this cast iron pan, this skillet. And you want to be sure to place the flat side up, the scored side up, so that the rest of the shell, the part that you haven't cut, can absorb most of the heat from the pan and keep the inside part from burning. So I have my chestnuts ready to go. I've scored them. I've spread them out, just one layer on the bottom of the pan. And I've had a wood fire going in the fire pit here for a while. So I have some good embers built up. So I'm going to put on this glove, this hot glove, just to protect my hands. And I'm going to set the frying pan right on the fire there. And we're going to let those sit. I'm not going to do anything to them. I'm just going to let them sit on the fire for 5 to 7 minutes. And then we'll come back in a few minutes and start to stir them. We're just going to stir them kind of occasionally for another 5 minutes or so until they're ready. All right, so we've let these roast just by themselves for 5-7 minutes or so. I think it's about time to start stirring them. So what we're going to do is just stir them around occasionally in the pan, just for another 5 minutes. You can see they're starting to open up. So the heat from the pan, it makes the shells expand, and they where I've scored them, they're starting to peel away. The edges are peeling away from where I cut the shells. So these street vendors in Victorian times in the cities would be selling these. They probably wouldn't have a wood fire. They would be cooking them kind of like on iron baskets on the street corner with a charcoal fire. But they'd be roasting nuts all day and selling them to passersby. And that smell of the chestnuts roasting, the sound of them popping, and definitely that taste, obviously, as you're eating them, that would really be part of Christmas time in Victorian time. All right, so I think it's about time to take our chestnuts off the fire now. So I have my glove back on. I have this cloth to cover up the handle so I can take a hold of it, because this whole pan's hot from the fire now. And I'm going to dump them into a bowl. So when you're done roasting your chestnuts at home, you can just transfer them straight into a bowl. You're going to need to give them a few minutes to cool. So I'm going to let them cool in this bowl here. Now once they're in the bowl, before you take the shell off, you don't need to take the shell off to finish them. What you can finish them with is just a pinch of salt. If you have some good rock salt or finishing salt, you can sprinkle that on to finish them off. You can also melt some butter, and you can pour some butter in the bowl and mix that in with the chestnuts to finish them if you'd like. Okay, so you can see here where I've scored the shells, it's kind of opened up. The edges have curled back. They're a little bit black on the bottom, that rounded side that was on the bottom of the pan. But the inside should be hopefully not burnt. But I think now's the moment of truth, so I'm going to pick one here. So how you can eat them, so I'm outside, I'm going to throw the shells in the fire, but if you're at home, if you just have an empty bowl on the table to put the shells in, and just peel them and eat them just one at a time. So this isn't too hot to the touch. And you can see the inside there. That's what the inside of the chestnut looks like. So this is how the Victorians would have eaten them too, probably just walking down the street. Just like eating a peanut or something like that today. All right, here goes. That's actually really good. So one difference about eating chestnuts today is that it was actually at the end of Victorian times, around the turn of the century. There was a fungus that came and killed off a lot of the native, like almost all of the native North American chestnut trees. So the chestnuts we eat today, they're actually not from North America. They actually are imported now, mostly from Italy and parts of Asia. And the taste is a bit different from what the Victorians would have tasted when they ate roasted chestnuts today, but they're still pretty good. And that smell and that taste would really have been a big part of Christmas time during the Victorian era. So enjoy, happy Christmas, and bon appetit.